Hey, it's Matt at Roughhouse Studios, and welcome to Canna Basics. Today we're going to be making canna butter in a slow cooker. This episode is sponsored by The Weed Box. The Weed Box is a really cool subscription service that comes with all kinds of cool glass pipes, bongs, and different levels of subscriptions that you can order. You can save money with the code ROUGHHOUSE at theweedbox.net. Now let's jump right in. Here's what you're going to need. You're going to need some cannabis flowers or some rosin chips, and we'll talk about that in a second. You need some butter, some olive oil, or some coconut oil. You can use any of those for this method. You need some soy or sunflower lecithin. That's an emulsifier. You need a slow cooker or a crock pot, and you need a fine mesh screen or filter bag. Now for this method, you could use rosin chips, you could use shake or trim, or you can use the actual buds. If you're using buds, you need about 1/4 to a 1/2 ounce for the 2 cups that we're using today. That's 500 milliliters. If you're using shake or trim, you need about 1 ounce, and that's about the same if you're using rosin chips. You need about 1 ounce for every 2 cups or so. And this recipe is something that I've been wanting to get around to for a while. This is a classic way of making canna butter, and it's very reliable. So if you mess up other ways or have trouble other ways, this is a really easy way to make sure you get it done right. And it could take a good bit longer, but it's still very effective and one of the classic true ways to do it. Now, if you're just using rosin chips, the first step to be decarbing it is just to grind it up into an oven-safe dish. And if you're using flours, you need to grind it and then get any stems and seeds out, and then put it in an oven-safe dish. I like to cover it with foil to hold in the heat and keep down the smell. And then we're going to put it in an oven preheated 250 degrees Fahrenheit for 35 minutes. That's going to be to activate or decarboxylate the cannabis and make sure that we get high off of it, or the most high that we can. Okay, and now we're going to be, while that's heating, I'm going to be combining the soy lecithin or the sunflower lecithin and the butter into the crock pot on high. And we'll go ahead and melt the butter and combine the soy lecithin into it and get the butter starting to warm up so that it becomes a solvent. It needs to be about 170 or 180 degrees Fahrenheit in order for butter or for anything to start melting cannabis or to melt the THC into it. And you can see even after the 30 minutes or so that it's been decarbing, it only got up to about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 108. But still, we're going to be moving on. The cannabis is just out of the oven now, and it's decarboxylated. It's got a really strong ammonia smell to me when it's fully decarboxylated. And it's a little bit browner than it was when we put it into the oven. Okay, and we're going to be putting that directly into the crock pot with the butter and the soy lecithin, or the sunflower lecithin. And you can use the granule powders of the lecithin if you want. It's an emulsifier, and it's going to help homogenize all the ingredients and keep everything from separating back out over time. Okay, and you can see what I'm doing. I put it on high on the crock pot, and I'm watching it every few minutes. I'm just monitoring the temperature because I don't want to get too hot. And I'm also skimming off the milk solids that come to the top, which is optional. You can leave those milk solids in there, but I like to clarify the butter in that way. And you're not really taking out any of the THC. We're going to monitor very closely while it's on this high temperature. And when it gets to about 220 degrees, we're going to take it off of high and put it on low. So what we'll do is infuse it on high until it gets to 220 degrees, clarify out what you want to, and then reduce it to low. And then we're going to continue on low for 4 to 6 hours, or however long it takes for these bubbles that you see to drop to almost to nothing. So once those bubbles have dissipated and they've just about stopped, or if you've gone almost 6 hours and it hasn't stopped yet, just go ahead and end your infusion. And then you're going to see that it's darkened quite a bit. It has a real nice kind of toasted, nutty smell to it. And now we're going to go ahead and pass that through a fine mesh screen filter. And this is just your typical kitchen fine mesh screen filter. And you can find those in most of your utensils sections in most of your department stores. And I'm using a spatula, or you could also use the back of a big spoon and just press and squeeze out as much of that cannabis as you can. And you could also use a screen bag like this or a cheesecloth to do this. I'm using both this time. I'm actually going to pass it through this hemp micron screen. And it could take a little while to do that, but if you use a finer mesh screen like this, you can take a lot of those sediments out, and your end product will be a lot more refined, have a higher smoke point, and it will also not have the sediments that build up at the bottom. Okay, so my oil is completely refined now, and I'm squeezing out the last little bits of it. And you can see it's really dark, very refined, clean-looking cannabis oil. I really can't wait to try this out with some recipes. In fact, stay tuned because I'm going to be making a peachy cream pie with this and some other recipes. So I'll show you what you can do with this over the next few videos. And you can see once it cools off too, it turns that nice bright green that you just love so much when you know it's canna butter. Again, I would like to thank the guys at theweedbox.net for sponsoring this episode. You could save money on their really cool subscription service for all kinds of awesome cannabis accessories like bongs and pipes. Use the code Roughhouse to save money there. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Canna Basics on how to make canna butter in a crock pot. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe to Roughhouse Studios for more cannabis culture videos made just for you. This is Matt for Roughhouse Studios. Thank you for watching.